Hello EFD squad and welcome back to the UCL review where we put Europe's premier competition underneath the microscope. Joining me today in the laboratory, Dexter's Lab, what a programme that was. It is a little ginge. It's Joseph Tomlinson,
Hello.
Fresh from throwing his cereal up the wall.
Absolute shitter.
What
Coffee
cereal was it as well?
It was porridge. All over me. A whole bowl of porridge and a whole cup of coffee all up the wall. Graffiti. Banksy'd it.
What a shocking start to the day and what a shocking start to Chelsea's last 16 campaign.
Great link, yeah, because they got battered, didn't they, against Bayern Munich last night at the Bridge. I was actually there and this was totally comprehensive. Effectively, Bayern are now guaranteed to go through to the quarter-finals. It was also Chelsea's 8th home defeat of the season already. That's the most since 1985-86. I have to say, though, they were fairly clear underdogs, in my opinion, going into the game. I don't think anybody expected them, other than the most ardent Chelsea fans, expected them to come away with a win. I was speaking to Jalab pre-game. He was saying, I'm thinking 2-1 Chelsea. One of the rare people that thought they'd get something out of the game
because that ardent category.
They scraped through their group. Let's have it right. Finished 1 point clear of Ajax. They finished level on points with Valencia. They obviously finished second due to that head-to-head. And they've also struggled domestically, as have Bayern Munich, it has to be said. They haven't exactly been the dominant force they're used to being. They're just 1 point clear of RB Leipzig. They're just 5 or 6 points ahead of 5th place. So they're not battering everybody domestically either. But in the Champions League, Bayern this season have turned it on. They took all 18 points from their group stages, didn't they? They won all 6 games against Spurs, Olympiacos and Red Star, and they were the top scorers in the competition by an absolute mile. They scored 24 in the group. For context, I think Liverpool scored 13. They did score 7 as well against Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So they're scoring goals for fun, and I believe they're the first club in the Champions League history to win all 7 of their opening 7 games. So they are on absolute fire in Europe. And on the night, it was a pretty bad beatdown, I think it's fair to say. 63% possession, 16 shots, 6 on target. XG, I think, had it at 3-1. Chelsea maybe slightly unfortunate not to get 1. There were a lot where it was kind of whipped across the box or across the 6-yard area and nobody got a final toe. But Bayern had some unbelievable chances outside of their 3 goals. Thomas Müller in the first half. How does he miss that header?
What, the one that hits the crossbar?
The one that hits the crossbar. He gets it totally wrong. It's floated in. He's 5-6 yards out. He absolutely has to score.
He's sort of using the back of his skull, though, isn't it?
Very weird. Kingsley Coman probably should have scored, went through 1-on-1. Serge Gnabry had a volley in the second half. He really should have done better with, but there were some fantastic goals in the second half as well. Particularly, I enjoyed the one where Lewandowski and Gnabry linked up and Lewandowski cut it back and Gnabry tapped it in. I thought that was beautiful to watch in the flesh. They also had a header from Goretzka cleared off the line by Lewandowski.
Yeah,
so
Mount probably would have got there. Bang.
Probably, but this could have been 4 or 5-1, and Bayern just so much better than Chelsea on the night.
Yeah, and at the centre of it, that man Gnabry.
Yeah.
What is that? Because I always think of it as Winnie the Pooh's little honeypot.
I think it is the
Is that what it
honeypot,
is?
yeah.
Okay, it is a honeypot. With his honeypot then. And he was extremely sweet in this game. Does that work? Probably not. And as a sweet left peg, doesn't it? There we go. He stole the show, added another 2 to his goal haul, taking his Champions League tally to 6 for this season. All 6 of those have come while playing in London too.
Yeah.
Loves it in the capital. 4 versus Tottenham, and of course 2 now versus Chelsea. Pretty ironic, as between 2012 and 2014 at Arsenal, he failed to score a single goal at home. Doesn't matter the player he was, because the player he is now, wow, he is a baller, isn't he? 10 goals and 8 assists in 16 starts in the Bundesliga this campaign. And like Joe said, could easily have had a hat-trick here. Somehow, though, by the time the full 90 was up, probably outshone by Bayern's left-back. Alphonso Davies,
this kid.
What a guy. The fastest thing on 2 legs, still just 19 years of age and playing with such composure. Absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
It was his assist for Lewandowski that really made the headlines, wasn't it? Running past James and Christensen before squaring it. Having that much composure while running that quickly as well, no one really keying in on that. Fantastic.
Yeah. Bukayo Saka, like he's a left winger predominantly, but been dropped back into left back because of the problems with the defence. And like you forget, their most expensive signing of all time, Lucas Hernandez, is not available. Nicolas Sula is not available. This Bayern team is unreal.
Yeah, and his athleticism unrivaled in this game. That was his second UCL assist of the season. And I can't not talk about Thiago Alcantara, my footballing paramour, orchestrating the whole affair, had everyone on strings like he normally does. Chelsea just couldn't get near him. 17 ball recoveries, 4 tackles and 5 interceptions at the base of that midfield. Just
do you know what?
Gorgeous.
When you watch him in the flesh, you don't appreciate it until you see his movement, how good Thiago Alcantara is. Bayern were really clever last night. I couldn't tell you what formation they were playing. It was like a 5-5. Joshua Kimmich was basically dropping between the centre-backs, allowing the wing-backs to go high, and Thiago had free reign in the middle of the park. Chelsea could not get near him. Barkley was having a bit of a stinker, but they couldn't get within 10 yards of him.
I loved it when they were 3-0 up and he was still getting frustrated with his teammates for not supplying the pass quick enough or picking the right option or whatever he deemed the right option, because he just gets there quicker, doesn't he? I mean, we haven't even spoken about Lewandowski yet, Joseph.
Well, we
got
got
his 39th of the season for Bayern and his first knockout goal in over 2 years. Has got a couple of assists in that period too, but it's been a long time coming. And he is in the sort of form where he could potentially lead them to the final, no?
Yeah, I think we've maybe underestimated just how good Bayern are. I think when we've been talking about teams that have won the Champions League this season, sat on the sofas, on live streams, on Total Footballs, PSGs have been mentioned, Liverpool's, Manchester City, we haven't really touched upon Bayern Munich, and I think maybe we've underrated them a little bit. With Lewandowski in this form, they should be up there as one of the favourites to win it. The squad is so deep, and I actually think for once, having a title challenge might help them. I think in past years it's potentially hindered them winning the Bundesliga so early, because they take their foot off the gas, players aren't playing to 100% domestically, whereas now I think everybody's got to be on it 24/7 because they're being competitive in the Bundesliga, so they will transfer that into the Champions League. And if Lewandowski starts scoring in knockout stages, I think Bayern could go on and win it. That squad was so deep. The ability to bring on last night Tolisso, Goretzka and Coutinho totally exposed how thin Chelsea's squad was. And of course they've got injuries as well, but the level of quality was just monstrous in this game.
Yeah, pretty staggering. You talk about those injuries and the lack of depth on the bench. It's going to cost them big time in the second leg, isn't it? Because, of course, Jorginho banned for that yellow card, and Frank Lampard not very happy with him post-match picking that up. Of course, the fulcrum to that side more often than not. Marcos Alonso given a straight red, deservedly so. Probably not as big a loss, but there is a dearth of options at left back for the London club, isn't there? After the game, Lampard pretty to the point. They outclassed us in every department, and it's quite sobering. They'll be hoping to bounce back now. They have Bournemouth at the weekend, of course. The mission for this season was Champions League football, wasn't it? To solidify themselves as a Champions League club whilst riding out that transfer ban. I mean, I think probably falling out of this stage of the competition might help them do so. So I don't think they're going to be they're going to beat themselves up too much. But the manner of the result did show that Chelsea have a long way to go in terms of regaining that ground that they've lost over the last few years. How far do you think Bayern can go? Can Lewandowski lead them all the way? Let us know in the comments below.
If you're new to Euro Football Daily and you're enjoying Champions League review, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on, because we've got another live stream coming tonight. Total Football for the Manchester City versus Real Madrid game. So tune in for that at 7:45. But let's return to last night's football. The game we want to talk about, Napoli versus Barcelona, was a dry one. It was hardly a classic at the San Paolo, was it? 1-1 on the night in front of 60,000. Both managers, Quique Setien and Gennaro Gattuso, making their Champions League debuts in the dugouts. And I think both of them would have been fairly okay with the result. Neither of them would have been gutted, neither of them would have been delighted, I think it's fair to say. Dries Mertens opened the score with an absolute perler. Top bins, that is what you like to see. The man who nearly left for Chelsea, of course, in January, but that move eventually fell through. Got his 121st in all competitions for the club. He's now the joint top goal scorer in history for Napoli with Marek Hamšík, who I totally forgot existed. But he was some player.
He was a midfielder as well.
Yeah.
But Mertens has kind of only been converted to a forward in the last 3 or 4 seasons, right? So Both pretty unorthodox top goal scorers.
Yeah, and from that moment, the game kind of took a bit of a dive, didn't it? Napoli sort of disarmed Barcelona. They were pretty disciplined, very defensive. They limited the Catalans to just 3 touches inside the box in the opening 45 minutes. So that kind of tells you just how dry this game was. But shout out to Mario Rui for his performance. Really good, completed 5 tackles out of 6 that he attempted. And you have to say, hat tip to Napoli to some regard, because I think Barcelona were still favourites going into this game, and they did manage to outshoot the visitors in the first half. They registered 4 efforts to Barcelona's paltry 2, which is low for Barcelona.
Manolas came close as well, the little stabbed effort past the post, didn't it? I think their chances did decrease in quality after that, apart from one that we might touch upon in a minute. But, yeah.
Second half, it kind of felt like the legs ran out a little bit. Barcelona started to claw their way back into the game. Messi making some of those direct dribbling runs. They're eventually outdone in the final third, 8 efforts to 7. But David Ospina was only tested 3 times. Barcelona could only register 3 shots on target. But is that really how we want to see Napoli playing football? The glory days of Sarri feel like they're over. The beautiful to watch Sarri ball that we once associated with Napoli is now turned into Gennaro Gattuso, limited, get 10 behind the ball.
Yeah, it's a shame to some extent, isn't it? What I've really enjoyed about Napoli in the last 2 or 3 years is seeing them go for it regardless. They've had this gung-ho attitude, which has kind of won over all the neutrals, all the purists. But I think there's an element of pragmatism, of realism at the club now, given the starts of the season they had domestically. And in recent weeks, he's really turned it around, Gennaro Gattuso, with results against big clubs. I think it's just about getting those results at the moment, stabling the ship, so to speak. And he's doing that, and there's still some very, very good footballers in the ranks. Fabian Ruiz is a delightful footballer, and I think could probably make it at any club across Europe at the moment. And some of the build-up play was still very precise, very good. But yeah, they're undone, weren't they, by a slick Barca move on the 56-minute mark, which brought to the away side level with Busquets, who completed 86 passes in Napoli's half, which was the 2nd most in a Champions League game in his career. I think the first was away at Chelsea. He slid in Semedo, who squared for Griezmann, and Griezmann subsequently became the first player, not named Lionel Messi, to score a knockout goal for Barcelona since 2015, away from home. Away from home.
An unbelievable statistic if that's true. 5 years, and the only player who scored an away goal for Barcelona knockout was Messi.
I think Neymar was the last one, other than that, in 2015. Actually did have the game at 1.5 to 0.7 in Barcelona's favour, so their second half endeavours did deserve something. Like you said, Messi completing an awful lot of dribbles. I think it was 7 by the time the 90 was up, which was unsurprisingly, a match high. However, they could have found themselves behind again 4 minutes later, and that big chance that I mentioned prior was Callahan one-on-one with Ter Stegen. Ter Stegen off his line like Alphonso Davies, mate, straight out to him, but he should have done better. That was his one shot of the game, Callahan, and when Barcelona present you with that sort of opportunity, if you want anything from the game, it's got to go in, baby. Yeah, Barcelona's last away win on Italian soil prior to this was against AC Milan in 2006, when the partner players manager Gattuso was actually playing, so they won't be too despondent with this, will they? This is okay, like you said. They'll take the draw. But the home game now isn't a foregone conclusion considering the suspensions and the injury crisis. Martin Braithwaite might have to step up.
And hopefully he does. I love it, Martin. Come on, Team Braithwaite.
Yes, Les.
Respect the name.
So they are unbeaten in their last 5, I believe, at home across all competitions. But Vidal and Busquets suspended now from the second leg. The former, after that incident with Ruiz, he got 2 yellow cards. Yeah, it happened in a flurry, didn't it?
It was a weird one, wasn't it? It was done. It was like in one incident.
You don't see many of them.
No, one incident.
It was very, very satisfying though. Suarez, Dembele, Alba, Roberto, and Piqué out with injuries.
The Piqué one was grim. The Piqué one was a grim injury.
Not pretty. Yeah, it certainly was. We hope that he recovers quickly. Napoli have never progressed past the round of 16, so can they take advantage of this mini crisis at Barcelona?
No.
Or do you think, yeah, they're just going to still beat them at home?
Yeah, Barca will win.
Hashtag Team Braithwaite. That's it. Martin's going to score a brace in the home tie.
Martin's going to get.
What was the original song before that.
I don't know what the original song was.
Belly's gonna get
Belly.
That was the advert, wasn't it? Anyway, that's the end of the show if you didn't just notice from that. What else have we got to plug?
Yeah, make sure you come and watch Total Football tonight. I said it midway through and I'll say it again. Manchester City versus Real Madrid. It'll be a really good one. I think it's me, Doogie, Zach and Michael McCubbin on the sofa talking you through that game. So tune in 7:45.
Got some great Champions League related scout reports out as well on Euro Football Daily. So go and give those a butcher's. Apart from that, like, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Not us personally, 2 other people.